Right.
All right. We'll call the Technology Advisory Board to order, and we'll go through the agenda. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
Didn't get caught,
I didn't take them.
so, okay, so that's, we'll have to pass on that.
I think Lee's
So-
here. Yeah, Lee will be on at 5:15, so hopefully he'll have it.
All right, so maybe we'll table that one for now. We'll go back to it later. Technology, some capital submissions by department. I see we have a nice little
Packet together.
packet here to go through.
Yep,
Excellent.
Mr. Chair, these are the capital, submissions, for the, next 5-year period. The first thing to mention is everything's the same. I'll identify which is the same, meaning the amount that was requested in each of the years. Is the library technology is no different. Yes,
So I thought we moved like everything to operating, and so there was not as much that, so what's,
these are the
like the
types of,
replacement stuff and all that stuff is all operating now, right? And these, what makes these sort of special or different, or am I thinking
capital
this wrong?
expenses is, what we've moved to the operating budget, both on, town departments and school department, is items that have a usable life of less than 5 years and generally has a cost of less than $5,000. I mean, sorry, a cost less than $25,000. These requests, in order to be requested as technology, there are 2 tests. It has to have a primary usable life of 5 years or more, and have a cost of $25,000 or more. If it's just one of the 2, it doesn't qualify as capital. And of course, if it's neither, it's not capital, and the request would be through the annual operating budget.
Thank you.
Yep, so in this, the library technology requests are identical to that which was planned to be funded in 25, 26, and 27. And was being recommended, non-public safety, public safety data centers and networking equipment, same thing. What was planned to be requested in 25 and 26 are the same. I'll skip over Powers Hall and come back to it. School copiers is, and it's basically the same. It's a 5-year funding plan. The timing of the replacement of some copiers has been changed, so that's why there's some amounts that are higher than previous and some amounts that are lower than previous. School technology is exactly the same. What was planned in 25, 26, 27, 28 is still the same plan. Telephone replacement, the plan was a request for 500,000 for 25, and it was it's the same amount. And the town building security and traffic cameras, the request was at 350,000 for 25, and it's the same. Just to note, telephone system under the previous column under 25, that's just an omission. It was at 500,000 the previous year. The new item that has come about is the in Powers Hall, which is here in Town Hall, where a town meeting is held. The AV system and the wiring that supports the technology is in bad shape. And it was recommended to the town manager's office based on the consultant that they need to look at replacing it sooner rather than later, meaning normally a request would be for fiscal 29, such as like the school department, their new requests are in 29, but this is not going to make it to 29.
How long is the new building?
Thank you, because I was feeling really old. Have I been around here that long?
That's the projector that's in there is over 8 years old.
It's over, the room's over a year?
No, the projector is, that's all. Because we,
I think it's like,
How
what,
old's
10
the
years
room?
ago?
2011 we opened.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say, so it's a dozen years, so, I hope the wiring is okay, but the.
yeah, the wiring is taking a real beating in the like in the floor boxes and things like that, all the HDMI wiring,
Oh,
so.
okay.
And some of it's not actually up to spec for what you need for now, right? Like the HDMI, it's like, I don't know what's in there, but it's not 1.4, 1 point whatever it is.
Right, it's not the new stuff.
And now these days you'll do HDMI over Cat 5, Cat 6,
Yeah.
so you don't even run long HDMI cables anymore, you run Cat 6 and convert, so that most of the wiring needs to be addressed anyways, anywhere where they can keep it, they'll keep it for sure, but,
Yeah.
but the projector, we couldn't even get parts for it, yeah,
8-year-old projectors
Yeah.
don't.
that was an $80,000 projector.
They
time.
also,
Yeah, so-
the technology
We could buy a
since
whole
two
board.
thousand eleven has changed, and remember,
could
two
rent from the
thousand eleven really
Patriots the
ordered in
board.
2010. Is, for recording and broadcasting purposes. Is, the equipment that they would purchase, with this funding request. Will make the ability for broadcasting, meaning cable and third-party groups that use the hall. It'll make it much more, seamless in order to, communicate with different broadcasting, media.
It's also the soundboard that, as all of you saw at Town Hall, that
Town
was
hall and
just a
stuff.
good feedback. The modern soundboard just has built-in capacity to take care of that before a human can even has to intervene, and it's doing that,
Yeah, you get noise canceling and all that
it's-
crap, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
No,
one of
it
those
seems like
things
a-
where we got the best we could 12 years ago, and it was just in the cusp before everything changed.
Yeah.
When you went to digital screens, so we could buy like basically a whole wall digital screen for $80,000.
Well, so the projector that will replace that is close to, I think it was 20, it was 30, something like that, $30,000. So it's not nothing, but it's,
Yeah, it's, we're
Yeah.
laughing.
Is
when
that
we
hall
went
getting
into-
used a lot?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh.
used, well, certainly.
I love it, but I thought that they should have put a kitchen in there. I was really unhappy they didn't put a kitchen in there.
or adjacent, yeah.
No, but it does get used a lot. I would say it is probably community and non-town events. There's probably 30 to 35 a year. And, which is a good number considering the primary purpose of the building is not a community center, but a seat of government. And then, of course, there is, at least a couple of public meetings every week there. And then, of course, there's a lot of, town, school training, events and such held up there because it's one of the few rooms that has, of course, the size that you're looking at outside of an actual school building, which isn't really convenient because your employees are here, working at the same time as the students are occupying the school. So it's really, one of the few avenues available that can hold a few hundred people. And the trainings are not only for employees, but there'll be group, trainings where we'll participate with other communities. That, for instance, the Office of the Inspector General, for instance, has done a training and come out here, and other communities join our employees up in the training up there. Different, and most recent was the state procurement site, OSD, referred to as Combis as the website. But the training on how to use the state contracts and such, and there are many opportunities like that. I know recently the school department actually had a training up there, I think last week, and it was. Well, the room was full, so it's gonna be.
Yeah, but
We've been invading this
configurable,
a lot lately,
right?
yeah.
I think also because it's configurable is why it's a great space,
Yeah.
right? It's
It's not fixed.
everything else in the schools is already, hard built with, specialized stuff, so.
There are
who-
many
who-
large meeting spaces in town, it's definitely,
So was there anything that this committee should say or do to make it better? Or is there any request that there's something deficient, or it's just sort of an upgrade?
An upgrade,
It's time.
we'll.
No, I get the time thing. I'm just wondering if there should be something extra that we should be thinking about or.
We're changing up some of the way that Jackson, we're gonna do, it'll be, so for the soundboard upstairs, that's definitely a huge upgrade just as far as that goes. And then the control will all be an Extron, pad control on both the back and the front, so they're not fumbling with like slider switches and dials and knobs. You'll just be able to walk up to a panel and say, run this scene, which is town meeting, or run the scene, which is a small meeting, and it will set everything the way it will be. So we're modernizing in that sense. That's just
And that
standard
stuff's
practice.
all brand new. That's in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
where
I mean, like,
that-
you know, the Williams School was built that way, and we've converted most of our big spaces to using that technology, so the person doesn't have to be sitting there dialing up little audio knobs or whatever. You just say, run the scene, and it sets everything the way it should be. And if someone messes with it, you just put it back the way it was, and it puts
Reset.
everything back the way, you know. So that'll be the most modern upgrade. The projector will be brighter, you know, that kind of stuff, but they're not really talking about adding a lot of.
I'm not sure what it would be, I'm
Yeah,
just throwing
yeah.
it out there.
I think they were talking about
Somebody-
possibly adding another set of wireless mics, like either increasing that. I think I maybe saw that in there. Yeah.
That's all related to the broadcasting
Yeah,
aspect
yeah.
is providing the mics and the more movable cameras, so they're able to do, again, the broadcasting. I anticipate that there'll be a formal presentation by the requesters come in March. This was just a courtesy. This is what's going through. That's the town manager actually hasn't even had an opportunity to talk through these yet, never mind the select board or finance committee. So as I said, in the spring, we'll make a formal presentation and really seek the support of the board. Suggesting the town appropriate funds.
So, board, is there anything that we feel that, does anybody
Like
wanna
one
be
question.
involved, or wanna be,
I think
things
if I
we can help out with,
question.
how can we help? Is there something, like, we never get in the ground floor of anything, I feel like, that used to be a complaint, so. I wanna say, hey, is there-
I think I know the phone system sounds silly, but I think there's gonna be a big discussion around phone systems.
I thought it was to make it compatible with sort of the rest of the, I thought we were sort of had some incompatible systems.
Well, so it's been a progression, right? So back, was almost 5 years ago now, we bought a My Telephone system over at the schools because our systems were 20+ years old and just failing constantly. So we decided in the school district to say, we just need to fix this, and we bought a MyTel system over there, and the town wasn't quite ready yet to go. Their different systems were different ages, but ours were definitely old, so so we decided to split and do that. So we've lived 5 years on that MyTel, and with that, when they were building public safety, I advised them to buy that MyTel system for public safety, and that's what they have at public safety. Since that time, in the last 2 years, there's just been leaps and bounds of different technologies, and in telephoning, as you know, we're actually doing a pilot of Zoom phone right now, which is just like it's a game changer in unified communications. You know, you just have one app, Zoom, wherever you are, it's your phone, whoever it is, your desktop phone, it's your client, and you're done. So we're,
Yeah, we don't have phones
Pilot.
anymore at the office. So.
yeah, I mean, we're piloting that at,
Don't even know
at
what an
Hillside.
office would look like anymore.
Yeah,
I
it's just a
haven't
different
been
world, you know.
exposed.
The reliance on these is just, so much more, and if I can take my work phone with me, and it also helps with all the things like FOIA requests and all that, because it's all, now you're using the Zoom app for your phone calls, for all of that, for texting, it's all discoverable, but we can control it. That kind of stuff. So,
On the contract side, how is Zoom to deal with?
A little
how
difficult,
What's that?
a little difficult.
long was it, Ann, that we got it?
It took, in the end, we were able to get what we needed.
And they're on state, we did get them on state contract finally, so we could procure it. Even though we're doing a small pilot, we knew if they weren't on a state contract, we'd have to go out to bid, and that just gets even more complicated, and.
Oh,
Yeah, you don't do anything unless it's from the state contract, basically.
And we're truly doing a trial. I mean, we're in the phase now, we just did it, and we're gonna roll that out as a trial and see what the quality is really like. You know, I've been using it for our nurses for like, almost a year now, right? Just, they do texting with parents with it. It was a way of giving them a texting solution. And that's been fine, but we'll roll it out, we'll see how it goes, voice quality, all of that, and customer support. What Zoom has done also is they have added the third party, the third party vendor channel, so if you want that extra support, like Harbor Networks, who's our phone vendor now, they are also a Zoom vendor, so they can be your support for Zoom, so you don't have to call Zoom and deal with their customer service. They will do all of that for you. So you-
party.
yeah, so you can hire a higher level of support if that's what the end user wants, or you can do it on the cheap and do it with, right for Zoom, so.
So, question, so if Zoom has been hard to deal with contractual wise,
They were just a little challenged.
So everything's resolved on that end?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, as I was
Yeah.
saying, like, there's other providers that have good technology, like Cisco. and-
Yeah, yeah, and definitely not off the table, any of them, is, it's sort of like what fits with our ecosystem now, and we've, as a school system, gone Zoom for video conferencing, so.
Right.
It just seems a little,
Yeah, they've been
Like in the
pushing it
fit.
on me, I'm
they're
getting,
pushing
that
everybody.
because we use Zoom and it's super easy when you order single license.
Right,
Yeah,
but here's the thing, of course, they're
It-
pushing it because they know they just, during the pandemic, they spiked and had this huge increase in business, that's all falling back down again, so. They need another avenue, right? And they wanna keep all these business customers, of course, they're gonna push to a phone, but it has been a good product and,
Way
Especially so-
easier than Teams to use.
yeah.
and Teams phone is, you wanna run from it, and the biggest thing they do, so for, as far as, what's the 911 statute,
And Ray bombs.
Ray Bombs, we are out of compliance with Ray Bombs 911 standard, so,
Just say more about what's.
so the Ray Bombs Act said that you not only, when you dial 911, it not only has to say your phone number, but it needs to tell them where you are in the building. So not just you're at the high school, but you're in room 109. That's a very tough thing for legacy PBX systems to do, including Mitel. And that we didn't know, we, even when we went to Mitel 5 years ago, that this is new. Zoom does it very well. They can actually do it down to, you can map out all your access points in your building, so even if your person's on a laptop, it'll tell them where you
Where's the
define
closest
where that
point?
is.
Yeah.
And then it'll tell them that's where they are, because everything's mobile today, that's not easy to do, so they've really got that down. And they even do it when the user leaves, they even track where you are through those, whatever Wi-Fi you're on, it'll at least give them the tower of where you are to tell you where your 911 is, they'll make an attempt, even when you're on a laptop at Starbucks, it'll still try to figure out where you are and give them that information, so. Anyway, so that was another big reason for going with making this change, that Zoom kind of has down.
Would the plan be to take all the schools and eventually get them all to Zoom?
If this trial goes well, I want to, I don't want to just say we're moving to Zoom, I really want to try this out over the next 6 months and then try to make a recommendation for as we move into July 1 of next year, but yes, that would be the plan.
Now, where are you trialing this?
Just our,
At Sunita.
no, sorry, at Emory Grover, at us, administration, yeah, sorry, Hillside. We keep
Hillside.
saying Emory Grover, but we're at Hillside.
Are you're paying for this trial or?
Yeah, it's already
they're not
done.
Providing this to you?
No, well,
Service, it's a service, so we're paying.
in
for
fairness,
service.
they would have given us some free months, but, as far as procurement goes, that doesn't, if the company offers you 3 months, you have to ask other companies if they'll offer you 3 months. Because all it does is get you in, right? Every company in the world says, I'll give you 6 months free, and then you ramped up and then you now, it's hard to go away from them, so.
So let's just say, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to monopolize.
No, it was a 36,000, not even, it's actually because 20 of that, it's only about a $15,000 trial. It's not that,
Is it all OpEx or is you have to buy the phones?
we bought the phones, but the best part is the phones are universal, so no matter what we go with, if we decide to switch to go Verizon or any of the other products that offer the VoIP, systems, it's a Yealink phone and you tie them right in. That's the problem with Mitel and some of Cisco is that they make their phones proprietary. Cisco's a little bit better than Mitel is. So you can't take that investment in that phone and bring it to another company where these ones will go wherever we wanna go.
So
Yeah,
you can buy
You
generic.
can buy
phones.
Polycom or Yealink or whatever it is
It's a
and
commodity.
just,
You just buy the
Yeah.
commodity, which is where we wanna
And the
be.
technology on these things is amazing. You plug them into one of our switches, it goes out. It
Figures it out.
figures out that I'm, what I wanna do,
That's
and
great.
it's done,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I work with a lot of higher ed and a lot of enterprise and it's either Zoom phones or Cisco. Those are the only ones I really see.
Or no phones, as Mike said.
Or no phones.
So back to helping, so at some point when we make a recommendation, we're gonna need help, because, one of our other concepts is that, DPW in the PSAP building, they need a phone system fast too, and the library needs one fast too. My original plan was, but it took a while to get the Zoom phone going, was to move our Mitel system that we had at Central Admin for the schools over to one of these buildings to help them, support them for whatever it is, a year or two while we figure out what we're doing. But it's been a year, and if the Zoom thing really goes well, it would make sense to just fire them up on Zoom and be done with it, you know, because of the, a lot
One
easier.
implementation.
And you don't need phone lines, you know, with Mitel, you need phone lines, you need PRIs, you need all of that, and Verizon is terrible in this town, I mean, it rains and we lose our phone lines at the schools, like, it's just not, you know, and Verizon support is not easy.
Wonderful.
Do any of these phones support?
Sorry, no one
Wi-Fi?
works for Verizon.
Do any of the phones support Wi-Fi?
Yes, yes, so, these new J-Link phones will be both, the Mitel that we have now are PoE and they had a Wi-Fi adapter, but we have enough jacks that we didn't need to go Wi-Fi, but it does, when it's nice if you have to go mobile with something, if you wanna bring it home or you wanna do whatever it is, you can take your office and be somewhere else, although now you have an app and a laptop, you don't necessarily have to.
Well, I'm more thinking like you have a room that has bad wiring,
Yes.
or you have a room with no wiring.
Yeah,
like,
it's
so you
great
put
now,
Wi-Fi.
yeah.
So, one question before I forget
Yeah.
was upstairs, Wi-Fi is fine in the powers room.
Wi-Fi was added during town hall meeting, although one of our users was over here the other day and said she had. I think Pam said she had a little trouble, or someone said they had a little trouble over here, but I haven't heard anything else.
Yeah, in other words, that's Wi-Fi and done.
So anyway, so when that comes up, we need some, you know, it'd be nice for the advisory board to say, I present to you where we're at and we decide it might be nice to weigh in on, does this make sense to do this? And hopefully reduce that $500 capital request by a lot, like way down,
Which
way,
is,
way down.
yeah, because it's the game changer
Yeah.
type stuff, you know.
There would be an
as we-
increase in the operating,
But,
there would be an increase in the operating for that.
right, but it's.
Yes, but our phone line, I mean, offset by the phone line costs, which are our phone.
Every time you're wiring, that's just cost, and as we're thinking, yeah, you know, Powers Hall needs to have rewiring. Well, you don't have to have rewiring when you don't have wires.
Right.
You know, all you're dealing with is the Wi-Fi piece and
Yeah.
making sure that that works. Yeah, no, we're on board.
So that kind of, did you wanna talk about anything else on that? And also data, you know, when we get to the data center replacements and all that kind of stuff, if we get pushback from people, you know, whether it's town meeting or whatever, obviously we need help from people. And
Yeah,
like you guys to say, you can't falter on this, we have to replace these things. I think, you know, our AS400 is a good example of.
It's been a long time since I've had to go to town meeting. I think
Yeah.
it's been about like 10 or 12 years ago was the last
Right.
time I presented town meeting. I presented, it was like, it passed. No one even questioned, just said, Chair of the Tech, anyone have any questions? A couple of people asked minor questions and it was done.
And there are some big numbers coming up, right, Dave? There are some big numbers coming for technology, so they may be questioned over time.
School board.
That was a good segue, actually, for replacement of the current billing and collection applications. Where we are billing in the new application for motor vehicle excise tax in real estate. And we were preparing for the process to stop billing water and sewer in the new application. The great fear that we had, and one of the things that was making this was the failure of the AS400, and it failed.
Wow.
But it wasn't the machine itself that failed, it was systems in town hall, the AC went out, it was over the weekend. The server room overheated, cooked the AS400.
It happened twice in a month, and they survived the first one and didn't survive the second, so. Our triple redundant AC system, well, all three units went down, so. But something's not redundant, but we're working on that too, right?
So, several things. I have to say, the company that we're moving with, has been very helpful. Trying to get us in a position so we can resume the billing water and sewer, basically when the system went down on September 22nd. We haven't been able to do anything. But it's not just that, the last data that they got was a file from the end of fiscal 23. So they didn't get the last export out of the AS400 in order to have so we could stop billing stop collecting for that system and start in the new system. That's, of course, you understand that's how you do the transition. So they were getting prepared for us to give them a last extract from the AS400. That didn't happen, so they're trying to recreate 3 months of history for us. And it's an interesting process. They're taking the bills, the scanned bills, you know, converting those scanned bills into text limited files, and then they're trying to populate into their system this history, so that they can get us to the point to where the system shut down. They've been working on that. So we have check-ins literally every couple days. We had a check-in on Tuesday. We have another one tomorrow morning, and working through that. Of course, you have that complication of trying to recreate in order to get us in the position, as well as the technical issues that happen with any new application, interpretation of our billing structure, our codes, what do they mean, our methodologies, which again, my experience over the years, this is probably my sixth conversion. There's always issues in trying to interpret
Oh, yeah,
history
because
data and stuff.
you compare, you're extracting apples and converting to oranges.
So it's probably, so it's moving along as best as it can. We're looking to be billing again in November. The biggest is the human cost. I mean, it's really tough on at several levels, certainly the treasurer collector staff. They're just dealing with the public. I need my water bill. I need my final reading. What do you mean you can't tell me my final reading? What do you mean you can't tell me what my balance is? So there's just that angst that the employees are having to deal with from the customer base, as well as then there is the staff that does the meter reading systems, and the company Neptune, which is the company that provides software to the meter readers, and having those two systems talk to each other. The interesting thing is the newer version that the company offers, which we did not use because we couldn't use it in through the AS400. So we were using an older version. The new version is what our software company does work with, and they're much more comfortable with it. So the angst is not so much the two companies doing the setup, it's teaching all our staff and DPW and how to use the new application.
Expedited, right?
That expedited, right, correct.
And there's also the school side, you know, as what I just learned this week, you know, the MTRS, you know, the retirement board stuff. That was historical data that was on the AS400. They can't look it up right now. So we've got like 7 people trying to retire who can't get their, they can't get their, you know, their, whatever their rate is going to be verified because that data is on the AS400 and they can get that out. So there are things like that that are causing.
But that part has been reconstructed.
Did you?
Yes, we're reconstructing that. So to give you an update on
What fried, the motherboard or the?
the,
Yes.
yes, both. They were hoping it was a disk issue. Sorry, they were hoping it was just a motherboard issue.
Yeah.
And not a disk issue, but in the end, it became moved. So just before this happened, like days before this happened, our AS400 was provisioned in their data center, but obviously nothing in it yet. They were hoping to actually take the drives out of what we had here. And they couldn't put them in the AS400 that was brand new because it was an age difference problem. But they had an older AS400 in another data center they were hoping to put them in and fire it back up. That wasn't able to happen. And so they had to go this other route of taking a tape backup drive from 22, our last backup, full backup, and restoring the brand new AS400 from that backup, which happened as of like 2 days ago. That the AS400 is back alive as of 2022, and now they're gonna from backups that we had.
Do the
Increment backup, but that increment's the harder part because they're all segmented backups. They're not.
Have to do them in order.
Yeah, so that plan's
So we
happening.
do
in
have
North-
sort of backups. That was sort of.
Well, we have, so the scariest part of it, untested backup, right? So we had backups that had never been tested to whether or not they could restore. We're just lucky that that tape drive that was set up probably 25 years ago to run backups was properly backing up, and it came back. And then those next files, we're hoping that they're all the data is there and we'll go back in. So far, we've been okay.
Question.
Yeah.
A larger question.
Yeah.
So the backups that you are taking for the rest of the crown jewels and the town of Needham, how often are those backups validated and tested?
So all of that, it's a very good question. So all of that's done through, as I'm, inheriting this, all is done through Veeam, the Veeam backup, and I would say that, well, I guess I would say, we have other people on that is, not well tested. The history has been not tested. So
Yeah, well,
And
as I say.
that's
you
part
have
of our
to
plans,
It's not tested.
You have to test backups every 6 months, so they're not a backup.
or at least even in concept that they
Yeah.
have. to be.
Yeah, they're not
One-
considered backup, yeah.
Yeah, one thing you should demand out of your backup is testing the backups, and is there an automated way to do that and improve it and document that, like, yeah, we've tested our recovery, we
Yeah.
tested our backup, and here's the document that says
Yeah.
we tested every month.
In our VM environment, you should be able to do that somewhat. We have a big enough environment to be able to spin up a VM and move it over and do it, but
I'm more concerned about the cloud systems, that there's no backup.
Those.
yeah, I mean, you're relying on those.
The cloud,
When we
so
move- when we
those
move
are all
to this new
SaaS,
back-
right?
Yeah, when we move to the new billing system, there's no backups.
Does the vendor provide? data
They
protection?
have their,
They-
yeah, they have
they
their,
do.
yeah, we have their white
Ask
paper on what they
Kaseya.
do, yeah, but.
Did Kaseya have backups?
Yeah.
No, they were all corrupted. My clients lost, 4 terabytes?
I would imagine that
Is
there's
that
a
a lot of
contractual
data?
obligation for them to test backups, prove it
Yeah,
to you.
4
Yeah.
terabytes.
And they have the one you're talking about, QDS, I asked them for their white paper, they do a redundant, server farm on the East Coast and the West Coast, and you have to assume by contract they're doing what they're doing, but there is no physical way for us to test that, because we don't host the environment or even,
Yeah.
it's a proprietary database for what they're using. That is the problem with the cloud. You do have to.
Rely on them.
Rely
The
on
question is whether, what I mentioned when we were looking before was simplistic, that, maybe we should take a master, a file back, an extract once a year of everything, just so you have it from a report writer.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Dumbass.
look at M365, like Microsoft's offering,
Yeah.
like they give you the recycle bin, but their backup isn't like, they only give you a certain period of time,
Right,
and those backups sometimes don't work.
Yeah.
Right, you have customers out there that are using Salesforce and they want to back up Salesforce, and Salesforce doesn't give you anything.
Right.
Workday, you name all these like big name SaaS apps, and like, it's really, the onus is on you.
Yeah, so like for 365, we do use a Barracuda appliance to back that all up and archive. So
What are you using?
it's a Barracuda appliance.
Barracuda.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, it's a hosted Barracuda appliance. So
Yeah.
it gets in the way and archives all of our mail. That's how we do all of our FOIA requests, all that kind of stuff. And it's also backing up the whole 365 environment. And Veeam also backs up our 365 too. So that one, I feel like we have a little bit.
Why are you doing 2 backups?
Well, but I think because the Barracuda doesn't do something, I'm sorry, I'm coming to this fairly new in the last 6 months, but there's something about the Barracuda. The Barracuda doesn't do something doesn't do something as well as the Veeam does.
Yeah, I don't want to take us down a rabbit
Yeah,
hole. This
no,
is
no,
a
but
conversation.
Something along those lines of there's a reason why they didn't like Barracuda's function for,
Sure.
they use it for archiving and a couple other things, but although it is running a backup, they like the Veeam one. I don't know whether it's because it's on site, our Veeam backups are on site. Maybe that's why they're doing it. I'm learning a lot with that.
So the other part, which why there are 2 reasons we need that history rebuilt. One is, as you may recall, the final phase of this project is actually to archive all the information that's not only our billing and collection activity, but the financials that we had in the system before we moved to an application back in fiscal 2014. That's partly what Mark was making reference to, research for somebody who was retiring. And that needs to be archived in some readable format. And that's the last, that was gonna be the last part of the project in the decommissioning of the AS400. So we were in the process, and hence that was one of the only, one of the lucky strike we had with the failure was we were already in a contract with a company to migrate from the box here to an environment in the cloud, just to buy us that extra time because we knew the AS400 was problematic. And again, as a reminder, that's why we were looking for, one of the reasons we were looking for a new
Yeah.
application. And also one of the things that helped drive the decision to go to the cloud. Once we have implemented this, looking at what members of the board have said is looking to seeing, taking a snapshot of the data and having it secured in a town controlled environment makes sense. But first we need to be up and operational.
You're talking about QDS?
QDS, but also even our system that we use for payroll and accounts payable, general
Yeah.
ledger. That's out in the cloud with Tyler Technologies, very large company. They're a $1 billion corporation. But again, I was mindful when you all had mentioned something about it might be good still to have a snapshot of your data from time to time.
My thing, yeah, that's my thing. You know, just a bulk download. That dumps it so that, again, you know, it's exactly what you're looking for on the conversion, right? You know, it's the same thing. You know, it sounds kind of dumb and simple. It's like taking a TB, right? If I gave you a TB on GL, you'd be happy, right? Once a year, year end, yeah.
He is with us.
Okay,
Can you hear us, Lee?
perfect. We can talk about future
Yeah.
meetings right here. I guess we're only missing with Carrie, but
So, unless you have any questions, I don't have any more to say on the billing and collections application. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. I did not complete my thought. We have the general billing. That's the last phase of the project and, thankfully, that's not as sensitive to the history because general billing are standalone,
Miscellaneous, yeah.
they're standalone events. We're actually, working with the fire department, with the company starting on Monday. They're our test department because they're not overly complex, but they have a couple of receivables that they bill for. And they have a few over the counter types of transactions where you pay up front and then most likely a permit. And they have an administrative staff that is more attuned to technology, so we can vet through problems that the other departments may run into and get that cleaned up, because we'll want to make the rollout as painless as possible for all the departments, because that truly is the one that affects the total organization. The key about the tax, of course, is that's our main revenues. That's that's most critical, but that impacts about 12 people that need to be knowledgeable with the system. But for general billing, we're looking close to 50 people.
I was gonna say, it's almost every department gets miscellaneous billing in town.
But and hopefully all this will be done and implemented completely by the end of the calendar year.
Yay.
excellent.
So future meetings. Mr.
Future
Chair?
meetings?
I'm
Do we
thinking
have-
that, there's nothing
So we
really.
canceled last one, we had this one, so I don't think we had any more on the books, do we?
We didn't, and I'm
Okay.
thinking we don't need anything until after the first of the year. I would say ideally until the town manager's budget is out. And of course, what we're actually moving forward with, because these are capital requests, not necessarily that they'll all be moving forward. But we'll have a better picture for February, so I think it would be, schedule the next meeting for February. And perhaps pencil in a date for March. Just so that it's in your calendars.
Yeah.
Is the general, what is the general meeting schedule for, I forget for the tab, is it quarterly or?
We used to do monthly,
Yeah.
first Thursday of every month,
Yeah.
but, you know, we've kind of been way more flexible depending. upon
Yeah,
the
I
needs
couldn't
of the
remember what you had come down to at that point, yeah.
Yeah, so it's usually that, but.
About 9 meetings a year.
Yeah,
7 to
and I
9
usually
meetings,
give up the summers.
So February 8th would be the first Tuesday,
Yeah.
Should we mention that, or you might wanna have?
Thursday, sorry,
Um,
5 o'clock again. I was thinking we did some weird compromise, we were gonna do like 4:30 or something, did we talk about that last time, or is it like? just
We
like-
didn't, this is the
This was the
compromise, the
compromise?
5 o'clock was the compromise.
All right,
There.
work in the Needham office now, so it doesn't matter.
So February 1st, you're recommending?
Oh, I said the 8th,
Oh, the 8th, okay, February 8th.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
anybody wanna go for the first?
Of what?
Oh, the 1st is a busy day for us,
8th is
yeah.
good then,
8th of February.
8th of February,
Yep,
2000.
that works for me.
and March 7th would be the next one.
A lot can happen between now and then, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life gets in the way, yes. And I'll send out Outlook invite, just to get it in your electronic calendars.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Any other topics not reasonably anticipated in the last 48 hours?
You want me to- you want me to-
No, not from my standpoint.
Nah, I did it wrong last time, so what do I say? Motion to adjourn?
You need someone to make a motion.
I need someone to make a motion.
I motion to adjourn
I second the motion.
And
and then call for a vote.
call for a vote,
All those in favor?
those in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.
Oh, well, Lee, we gotta get Lee registered.
Hey, Lee.
Yes, he's fine.
Of course.
Yeah, that was a quick one, Lee.